is Joy News Prime.
This is Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV on London-based ABN Television, which is available across Europe. Thank you for joining us. Coming up, government assures jobless trained nurses it will begin posting them to the various health facilities after they picketed at the Flagstaff House. President Mahama argues Ghanaians will have to pay more to help address the energy crisis. Investigative journalist Barima Osei and judges implicated in judicial corruption scandal put in appearance at the Judicial Committee probing allegations.
And in business tonight, President John Mahama has announced that the government is instituting some new measures that will help reduce the country's rising debt substantially. But some economists say the measures may not necessarily solve the problem.
And then Flagstaff House denies it is using $10 million to finance the printing of diaries for the presidency of the presidency. Over the next 2 hours, we'll also bring you sports, entertainment, as well as your social media comments. My name is Israel Live. Please stay tuned. Now, very first story, government has assured it will from next week begin posting nurses who have successfully completed their training into health facilities across the country. According to the Employment and Labour Relations Minister Haruna Idrisu, the delay in posting the nurses is due to an ongoing validation process to absorb them into the system. The assurance was given to a group of nurses who besieged the Flagstaff House in Accra on Monday morning, demanding postings.
The nurses started arriving at the Flagstaff House as early as 8 a.m. Monday morning. They vowed to remain at the seat of government for as long as necessary to put pressure on government to give them a firm commitment of employment or employed into service. As their numbers increased, police were deployed to keep the pace. Officers forced the group of nurses to move away from the Flagstaff House, insisting that the seat of government is a security zone.
This is not the appropriate place. So if you don't do it, stop doing it.
The group, made up of psychiatric nurses, midwives, general nurses and community nurses, completed their training in 2013 and 2014 at the various state-run health training institutions, but have since been neglected by the Ministry of Health. Leaders of the group said, although members have been bonded for between 3 to 5 years by the ministry, they are yet to be put to work in government health facilities. According to the nurses, the bond has become a burden since they cannot be employed by any private health facility.
In fact, as we speak now, we are here as individuals who are coming to ask our Papa, President John Mahama, whilst we've been left in the house since 2013 after completing school, bonded by government not to go anywhere but to serve the country. Since 2013, we've been in the house till now. We've made relentless follow-ups to Ministry of Health, all to no avail, always giving us no short reassurances.
What has the Ministry of Health been telling you over this period?
In fact, it will interest you to know that even the Minister himself has been giving us dates. For example, by the end of August, we will be posted. August will expire, nothing better will happen. He will give us another month again. We will patiently wait. The leadership have been coming, always being referred. Go and come till date. Since 2013, we completed school.
Okay.
Actually, our being here is necessitated by the failure, persistent failure of the leaders, especially the ministers, responsible for clearing us financially and posting us. We've made several follow-ups have been made, but they proved to be untrustworthy, unreliable. You understand? So we for now, we have neglected them because they are unreliable. They have deceived us several times.
Because they've deceived you, they are not fulfilling their promises. That is why you are here today, yes, taking things into your own hands.
We are not taking things into our own hands. You know something? It is the president who have appointed those ministers, and they prove to be untrustworthy and unreliable. I'm telling you for about years now, we are still with our poor parents depending on them.
Attempt by the Chief Executive of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and the President of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association to get the nurses to leave the scene proved futile. It took the intervention of 3 ministers to get the nurses to change their minds about pitching camp at the Flagstaff House. The Deputy Health Minister, Deputy Finance Minister, and Employment and Labour Relations Minister assured the group their issues are being looked at. Haruna Idrisu has been explaining reasons for the delay in posting the nurses.
It is government's collective resolve with you that should not happen to any category of nurses, nor junior doctors or doctors to be posted within the health service and to be employed by the Ghana Health Service. So accordingly, the Ministry of Health have just finalized a validation of your final list, which has been sent to the Ministry of Finance for clearance. The clearance will be provided early next week for posting.
The Deputy Finance Minister says the necessary paperwork has been done for 15,000 nurses to be employed soon.
We have actually released the first batch of the financial clearance as far back as 27th August 2015. In fact, the Ministry of Health is working with yourselves to ensure that you can get posted. The last batch is something very small. The numbers are quite small. As the Minister rightly said, we hope that before the weekend, we will release the last financial clearance. And then we believe that after the financial clearance is sent to the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service, they will then commence the process of your postings will start. And then obviously you go through the process of ensuring that your biometric is captured on the payroll so that we can start paying you as soon as possible.
The nurses, numbering about 100, later dispersed with the hope of having their issues addressed by the end of next week. Matilda Pumaga for Joy News.
President Mahama says Ghanaians must be ready to pay more for electricity if they genuinely want reliable and sustainable power. He explains this has become necessary because the country is having to rely more on the expensive option of thermal power against the cheaper option of hydro. The president, who was speaking on Guarding City Radio in Kumasi on Monday, says a hike in tariffs will help end the energy crisis. He spoke in Chi.
Ekabi Daho from West African gas pipeline. Then the man bus and say it will maybe West African gas pipeline no ship be a pipe no. Samokaya, it was in 2012, I think 2012. Ship be a pipe no. And in gas name Mebium. And for more than 1 year, there was a VRA, Ediomusikato light crude oil. Now, light crude oil no, is the most expensive fuel you can use. Now, we share your tariff, any light crude oil na VRA it affected VRA's balance sheet. Into gas the same by, you know. Let's just say on balance sheet is affected. They didn't have enough reserves the way they had. And the gas niche no ebe den kakra. But arrangement I yonko Nigeria for edru ni say arrears no will be refinanced and paid over a period of time. But VRA be keep up with the current payments. And to make us say we've paid up to July. August payments across the year. And we owe only for September. But your legacy debt we are at that you agree say we will refinance that over a period of time. And to make us say an NNPC boss or Ghana. Now share power na hydro is the cheapest and at thermal the most expensive. And he said the hydro akosombo ye adwuma no say the hydro no more egumwa na ye the thermal na ka ho na ama etono yetuano aba from. But senior air kono cheaper power no afe because of water level no yentimi emfa more engumu nti say ye be use more thermal power. Now share thermal power ne boy den chen hydro. And we might have to pay if we want reliable power, if we genuinely want reliable, sustainable power. And that's the point. We've seen how it is. Wow, for generator now top petrol guma now top diesel guma is far more expensive. ECG demaye. And say a reliable power near kasi and pay dum so bioma. and yet we might have to pay a bit more because the hydro that used to subsidize our power is no longer available. Because the whole of next year and 3 year we'll use only 2 units of Akosombo, and that's our dam Besei. We'll shut down 4 units because of the water level. 1.44 feet. A minimum will pay to year 140. Normally by this time this year at the bare 155, 160. And it's a worrying signal.
Right, so the president started off by explaining how the debt VRA owes NGAS came about. So VRA owes NGAS about $181 million. We're told that the power minister went there to Nigeria and he's paid about $10 million, and there's a lot more left to be paid. So he explains that VRA at some point in time had to spend loads of money to buy crude oil after the West African gas pipeline was ruptured somewhere off the coast of Togo. So when it happened, VRA had to spend so much more to buy crude oil, and that affected the authorities' balance sheets. And as a result, they have been unable to pay up on the gas they've taken from Nigeria. But he goes on to explain that their plans have been put in place to make sure that debt is cleared. And then he also talked about the fact that the energy mix has changed considerably in the last few years because there's less hydro or less Akosombo is being relied upon a lot less to generate electricity, and we're using crude oil to power our thermal plants, which is a lot more expensive, and that's the reason why Ghanaians generally would have to pay a lot more. But still, in Kumasi, President Dramani Mahama has cut the sword for work to officially begin on the Kumasi Central Market KJTR redevelopment project. The Central Market project is expected to enhance socio-economic growth and ease the congestion in the Garden City under a comprehensive urban development program.
Ladies and gentlemen, the financing of this market complex is being done under our new public debt management strategy. As a result of this, an on-lending agreement has been signed with the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. What it means is that government has taken the loan and has on-lent it to the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. The Assembly is expected to open a debt service account into which a portion of the proceeds made from the revenues of this market will be paid towards repaying the cost of the loan that was extended. That is the financing structure. And this is part of the new public debt management strategy we are implementing, where state-owned enterprises for which government takes loans will be required to service those loans out of the revenues that they earn. I wish to encourage officials of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly to continue to work with the Two Force Committee to resolve the remaining concerns of traders in the old KJTR market and inform their outstanding issues that the Two Force Committee is dealing with. And it is my hope that the KMA would cooperate with the committee so that we shall resolve all the issues to everybody's satisfaction. Let me also assure you all, especially the current traders in the old market enclave, that you will be given first priority in the allocation of stalls and shops in the new KJTR Kumasi Market Complex.
Our correspondent Mahmoud Mohamed Nouri joins us on the line with more. Good evening to you, Mohamed. How important is this project to the city of Kumasi? Hello, Nuruddin, if you can help. Yes, if you can hear me. How important is this project to the city of Kumasi?
It's very, very important to the people of Kumasi. The fact that it's going to create some jobs for the youth in Kumasi, especially the CEO of the contractor, Fabio Kamara, made mention that 70% of the workforce are Ghanaians, and they are expecting to employ more people, to engage more people into this project. And so there is going to be some kind of, structure, some kind of structures in the project. When it is complete, more people will be employed in this project. So it's going to be a very good project. But the fact is that most of these traders that I have spoken to are very much concerned with the number of months or the number of years that this project is going to complete. And that's their concerns. And before this project began, we had complaints from these traders about how they were going to be brought back to after the project has been done. And these are some of the concerns. But basically, it's going to create jobs for the youth in Kumasi.
All right, thank you very much, Nuruddin. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We'll be back with more. Don't go away. You're watching Joy News Prime, and on to the rest of our stories. Presidential staffer Stan Dogbe is calling the opposition leader Nana Akufo-Addo Dankwa a liar. This is over Nana Addo's claim that the Flagstaff House is spending $10 million to produce diaries for next year. In response, Mr. Dogbe and other government officials have taken to Facebook to rubbish the claims. Political correspondent Evans Spencer joins me in the studio with more on this. Good evening to you, Evans.
Good evening, Israel.
So what exactly did Nana Addo say?
Nana Addo, in a statement that was issued by the party, says essentially that he had a journalist talking about the fact that $10 million has been given by the president for the printing of diaries. And that he's saddened by that the $10 million can be given at a time when we are struggling to find money to pay the West Africa gas pipeline and the Nigerians for supplying gas.
Okay, so it wasn't the case that he knew that for a fact, but it was because he heard a journalist talk about it.
Well, he referenced, when I hear a journalist talking about the fact that, complain, just to paraphrase, that $10 million has been given for the printing of presidential diaries. And he repeats that, $10 million at a time when, we are struggling to find money to pay for gas from Nigeria for powering our plants. And so, yes, he cites a journalist, but then he owns that particular statement. And that is where he's coming for some flack from some of the key people involved in this.
So what exactly have these government people been saying?
That statement, though, was originated by an MPP group, led by Hobson Adoya. They specifically referred to the fact that this amount of money came from the consolidated fund. That's where all our taxes go for the development of the country. And Nana Addo then gives it amplification with his comment. And it's not surprising that Nana Addo seemed to be the individual they're targeting, because he seemed to endorse these claims. And the initial comments, the suggestion was that Stan Dogbe, who is a presidential staffer, a former journalist himself, we know he has a certain clout in terms of media organizations, etc., was the individual that won the contract to print these diaries. Well, he'd come out quite strongly, dismissing these claims, saying it's absolutely ridiculous, and then Nana Addo is lying.
All right, can we get to that and get to read some more? Because we have that, and then we also have what Felix Fachofosu, the Deputy Minister of Information, has also been saying. Okay, so I think that's
so. This is
essentially
Stan Dogbe's quote as captured on our own Manasseh Zuriya on his page, and it says here: ridiculous claims and outright lies, all in the name of politics and an undying quest to be president. I can't say for when he was a minister in a government, but sir, you lied. No government under the NDC has spent a peso of the public purse to produce diaries. Such diaries have always been paid for from corporate advertising proceeds, and the canvassing for such adverts is a responsibility of the company selected to produce the diaries. Now then he provides some clarification here, and his point essentially is that a private company had won the contract, and that company is going to pay for those diaries by getting adverts. So you place adverts in the diaries, you pay for those adverts, and that is how they get the money to print the diaries. $10 million for diaries is questioning the amount that Nana Addo suggested. You could have looked for a more convincing lie, not this one, and you want to lead the people of Ghana. And there's a question about Nana Addo's ability to lead the people of Ghana based on what he claims to be a lie. Tonight we've heard from the Deputy Communications Director of the NPP, Anthony Kabo, who is making the point. Of course, I mean, I pushed him on this. The problem for the MPP, Nana Addo, Anthony Kabo, Hobson Adoya, is linking this amount to the consolidated fund. They're suggesting that this amount had come from the taxpayers' money. Okay, that's the problem.
The presidential staffer says that's not the case.
That's not the case, and he can't prove that. But then he raises a very critical question, which is, okay, so this is not coming from the taxpayer, but this individual is using the presidential seal
to make money.
To make money for himself in the printing of diaries, and that for them is something that we should probe. Again, we spoke to the Deputy Communications Minister, who in fact had also on Facebook also raised questions about this. And on his page, if you walk us through what exactly he's saying there.
All right, so on his page he says, Felix Kwachu-Fosu says, even as the NPP led by its flag bearer sinks deck deep into pedestrian propaganda and outright falsehood, President Mahama continues to bring development to the people of Ghana. President, okay, so this is what he had to say about the president cutting sword for some work. I actually...
In other words...
Yeah. So the flag bearer of the NPP has decided to dabble in a campaign of disinformation by claiming that a whopping $10 million was spent on the printing of presidential diaries. It would have been expected that the media would hold him to strict proof, but alas, they won't. Unless the diaries are draped in gold or diamonds, surely it should have occurred to him that the figure he quoted was spectacularly outrageous. He may want to take note of the fact that if given the lavish taste in government between 2001 and 2008, it was a practice to spend such huge amounts on diaries. We in the NDC are not giving to such ostentation. We've adopted a process that ensures that corporate sponsorship is used to finance the printing of limited quantities of diaries. This lack of thoroughness and attention to detail, which leads him to make unfounded claims against government, explains why his party is in tatters at the moment and in its worst shape ever.
So it's simply about proving, drawing a direct link between the claimed $10 million and the taxpayers' money. Is this money coming from government chest, that the taxes that we pay? They say that's not true. Even the $10 million they are questioning. But then government itself, the presidency still have questions to answer. They say, in fact, tonight when we spoke to him on Newsnight, Felix Kwachu-Fosu talks about the fact that yes, this individual wrote to the presidency and got the approval of the presidency to use the image of the presidency to then raise these, commercial, corporate funds to print the diaries. And so all they want is the diaries. You're not paying a penny for it. And this guy is simply printing based on revenue you get from the diary. But the question then is, if you're using the president's name, the seal of the president, to raise funds, definitely the questions will arise about how are you accounting for that? Because the president's image, the president is the sovereign. We have ceded our sovereignty to him. It's the same as talking about a presidential guarantee or a sovereign guarantee. I have guaranteed that you can use my name as a president to raise funds to print diaries for me. That's where the question is coming. You still need to then check who is making those donations or putting advice in it. How much has the individual raised? How do we account for it? Because in the end, it is the president's name, your president, my president, the institution that is being used to raise the fund. So the questions there also for the presidency to answer. So there are also many questions for the NADO also to answer. Did he verify those claims that this $10 million in fact came from the taxpayers' money? So both parties still have questions to answer. And I'm pretty sure we haven't heard or seen the last of this.
All right, thank you very much, Evan Spencer. And for all you know, there may be a presidential diary coming your way.
Yeah, I'll wait for it.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. When we come back, we bring you business news. Please. All right, before we take business, the committee set up by the Chief Justice to probe High Court judges implicated in judicial corruption has started sitting in Accra. The judges who were captured on video allegedly taking bribes through cases are currently on suspension pending the outcome of investigations.
There have been a number of committees sitting since the judicial corruption scandal expose by the investigative journalist Anas Arimiyao Anas. The committee's sitting today lasted about 2 hours. It started at about 10:15 in the morning and ended after midday. The committee, headed by Supreme Court Judge Justice Sophia Kufu, has the mandate of examining the veracity of the video evidence presented by the investigative journalist. Anas Arimiao Anas came to the hearing on Monday in his trademark veil, accompanied by 2 decoys as a security measure. In all, some 34 judges and magistrates and more than 140 judicial staff workers who were caught on video allegedly taking bribes to influence cases before them are being probed to weed out corrupt officials from the judiciary. Monday's hearing was for the High Court judges implicated in the scandal. There is a separate panel probing similar allegations against the magistrates and judicial service staff.
Right, we're now taking a break. When we come back, we bring you business news.
Business News is brought to you by
Tonam says here, good evening to you, Tonam.
Good evening, Israel.
All right, so there's a Bank of Ghana is going to raise a 1.5 billion CD bond.
Yeah, domestic bond. I'm
Again.
sure. Again, you know, we couldn't
adding
raise
to the debts.
We couldn't raise the 1.5 million US dollars
Euro
bond, and so we were able to raise 1 billion. And so this is supposed to be a budgetary support sort of,
really?
So that if we are finally able to raise a 500 million US dollars, we will use it to refinance this 3-year domestic bond we're trying to raise.
Okay, but I'm also, the understanding I'm getting is that they're using the 1.5 billion cedis to pay off existing debts.
Right, you know that
maturing debts,
the 1.5 billion US dollars we're supposed to use parts to pay maturing debts and parts to stabilize
capital expenditure.
Yeah, but I mean we didn't get to raise the whole thing, and so we're using this to help to support that.
All right, take it away.
All right, now, government today began measures to raise some 1.5 billion Ghana cedis from investors in the country by issuing a 3-year bond. This should be the last bond that the Bank of Ghana is hoping to auction on behalf of the Finance Ministry for this year. But what are the likely interest rates that government is expected to pay on this bond? We will be telling you in our subsequent bulletins. Now, meanwhile, President John Dramani Mahama has announced that government is instituting some new measures that will help reduce the country's rising debts substantially. Some of these programs has already seen state-owned institutions set up a separate account where funds are being deposited to service their debts. Speaking on Garden City Radio today, President Mahama said this will also ensure that the entire burden does not fall on governments when these institutions fail to pay the debts.
We've asked the SOEs to open debt service accounts, and they must escrow part of their revenues in the debt service accounts to pay off the debts that they have incurred. And so government is going to pay some of the debts, but some of the state-owned enterprises are also going to pay their debts. And then the new policy we've come up with is that the state-owned enterprises should borrow on their own balance sheets. Government is no longer going to provide those credit guarantees. Okay. And so Ghana Airport Company has started it. Ghana Airport Company has gone on the credit market and have raised in excess of 200 million, with which they have repaired the new arrival hall. They are building the whole airport. They're going to upgrade the Sunyani Airport. They are opening the Wa Airport, and they're building a new terminal in Kotoka Airport, which we call Terminal 3. Ghana Airport Company has done that on their own balance sheet. And we're going to let all the state-owned enterprises, Gapoha and all the others, borrow on their own balance sheets. And so I don't think the debt is something that we should be worried about. The investment that has been made in this country will pay off enough to be able to resolve those debt issues.
Meanwhile, an economist, Dr. Eric Osesibe, who spoke earlier on Business Live, says this measures is not necessarily the solution. Take a listen.
Well, I think we've heard this over and over again. Right. This new debt measures started in 2013, where government came out that it has actually instituted some new measures to reduce our debt stock, the escrow account, the infrastructure funds, and all of that. And we are into the second or third year now, and nothing significant seems to be happening with regard to some of these new measures, because even as of now, the infrastructure fund, we don't know the state of it now, where it has gotten to the sinking fund and the escrow accounts. We keep hearing them, but very little is seen on the ground as to the how these things are being operated upon. And so it's not just about paying lip service to new measures. It's about making sure that they are actually working and it's making some kind of inroads into our debt stock. Our debt levels keep mounting. We keep having huge debt overhang. And I don't know when this is going to stop. Looking at the fact that government own precarious financial position today, government has to continuously borrow in order to even service its maturing debt. And also the fact that we still have huge infrastructure deficits, it means that government will continue to borrow. So really, I do not see where the downward trend is going to come from. We need to do more and more in order to get this thing, reversed. And otherwise, just the mere measures that you keep trumpeting, I don't see it really having any positive effect on the debt stock, at least for now.
And World Bank boss Dr. Jim Yong Kim has indicated that Ghana's approach to bringing the economy back on track is commendable. According to him, government spending on health and education and other key sectors of the economy is working well to stabilize the economy. He spoke to my colleague George Riafe during his one-day visit to Ghana.
I think what they're doing now is very, very helpful. I mean, we've seen a very aggressive approach to decreasing fiscal deficits. We've seen efforts at moving forward on structural reforms. We've seen efforts at maintaining, for example, spending on health and education. So we think the government is going in the right direction. But there are challenges. Inflation still remains very high. And some of the measures that the government has been taking will help, we think, with inflation. Ghana has had great success. The reason we're here is because Ghana has been able to reduce poverty dramatically since 1990. Ghana has also been able to lift up the bottom portion of the population much more effectively than others. Just one number, prior to 2005, 2006, the effect on poverty of growth in Ghana was much higher than in other countries in Africa. In other words, other countries in Africa were growing, but even as they were growing, poverty was not being reduced. In Ghana, growth led to much more rapid decrease in poverty. You see things like infant mortality is lower, maternal mortality is lower, deaths from malaria. So many things have gotten better in Ghana. We want to focus on that, what's happened here over the last 15 years. And also, we are here to support President Mahama in continuing the reform process that he's taken on.
And President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, says despite Ghana's high debt stock and high inflation rates, it still has confidence in investing in the country. He intimates the country has high prospects.
I think the confidence in Africa is strong. What has happened really is that Africa faces quite a number of economic headwinds, and those headwinds essentially come from China and the significant decline in the price of primary commodities. As you know, you found the Jubilee oil, and most of the projections were based on the income earnings that will come from that. But the price of oil is at its lowest in 6.5 years, and so that has actually put a lot of pressure on the fiscal resources available to government. But I think it's a passing phase. I think what really needs to be done is that Ghana needs to be supported to go through that particular period. It's clear that the price of oil is low, but maybe it will rise a little bit more over time. But basically what needs to be done is what's been done. A lot more fiscal consolidation is very much needed. A lot more work in macroeconomic stabilization is needed. And I think just being able to service the ongoing debts and being able to pay that, it's very important. But as I said, the African Development Bank has a lot of confidence in Ghana, has a lot of confidence in what the Minister of Finance is doing. And I'm confident that Ghana will make it through MB.
Social Security and National Insurance Trust NET continues to encourage the public, especially those close to their retirement ages, to ensure the data they keep with the trust is accurate and up to date. This would go a long way to ensure delays are minimized in the process of paying out benefits to retirees over time. The trust is again asking that members close to their retirement ages get biometrically registered to make it easier to track their data. Corporate Affairs Manager Eva Amegashi spoke to Joy Business.
Social security is about 90% data and 10% money. So if the data is not right, we cannot pay. So we have to ensure that the data we are using to pay is right before you get it. There are others that the mistake could come from SNET, yes. It could come from the worker. It could come from the employer. That is why we have integrated our system to make sure that we fill all the data. The data is so important. If you're a contributor and you have about 2 social security numbers and you work somewhere, you change, you got re-registered and use another number, and you are your contribution, there will be gaps in the first social security number, and then you continue with the second social security number. At the point of disengagement at 60, you realize that there's one, there'll be gaps in them. Why? Because you changed the number.
And that's it for business. My name is Eton Amsey.
Business News was brought to you by...
Now, there have been mixed reactions to a proposal by Minister for Education, Professor Jane Nano Poku-Agyeman, for school children to be tutored in local dialects. Speaking at a poverty forum organized by the World Bank, Professor Poku-Agyeman made a strong case for local language to be the medium of instruction in schools.
Nothing stopped Korea from using their language. By using their language, it didn't stop them from making the vehicles and the TVs and the phones that we import. Because Koreans were taught in a language they understood, education picked up. Because we are teaching our children a language they can't even follow, we are drawing them back. So the real change for me is not about reviewing the curriculum. It's not about the extension or contraction. It is about relevance. The world has talked about access. Here is a place where 70% of the children attend school in this country. We leave them behind, we leave ourselves behind. Because we will live with them. They will come into your homes to fix your fridge. And when it doesn't work anymore, don't ask me why. And I believe that every subject can be taught. If science is taught in the language the child understands, he becomes a tailor. A tailor's most important instrument is a tape measure. It's a scientific instrument. It's a mathematical instrument. Okay. A seamstress's most important item is the tape measure also. When you go there, what do? They measure you. They're already speaking mathematics. So how come they were not good in math? Because you taught them wrongly in a medium they couldn't relate to.
Yeah.
That we can remove, and let me tell you, we will change this country.
Well, former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Michael Nsoa, joins me in the studio for more on this. Good evening to you, Mr. Nsoa. Yeah. So it turns out that you're one of the people you actually believe you support the position taken by the Education Minister.
That's right, because this thing has always been one of the main challenges that we face. That when we talk of falling standards and that the children don't have the foundation, is because of this problem that, right from, we are not sure which one to go, but clearly there has been this historical, antecedent that if we were able to confirm this position, we will not be where we are now.
All right, but you just said yourself a short while ago that you're not sure whether you should go with English or whether you should go with the local. What exactly are we seeking to do? There are those who are asking, are we saying that we should go with the first language of the child or the native language?
I think that has been the problem, because when you say the first language of the child, yes, my first language is Akan or Twi. So if I find myself in Tamale and you insist that I should be taught in my first language, then it creates a problem. Other countries have overcome this problem. For instance, South Africa, they call it play language. If I were to be a young kid and I'm sent to Tamale by my father because of a transfer, I will learn how to speak Dagwani, and my father will not be able to speak Dagwani because I play with children who speak Dagwani. And I'm forced to speak Dagwani because otherwise I will not be able to have friends to play with. And in that case, because of the environment, everybody is speaking Dagbani, I am forced to speak Dagbani. And therefore, the medium of instruction, if it is in Dagbani, then I benefit.
All right, so to start with, the education authorities themselves can't seem to agree which one to go with.
Yeah,
because you've been debating whether first language or native language.
Exactly. So it is because maybe there's a misunderstanding about this whole thing about using your local language.
And the areas that the education minister cites, the country that she cites, they have one common local language.
Yes.
Which makes it easier for them to do that. In our case, we have more than 40
in Ghana,
languages.
like many other African countries, we cannot do it. Kenya has
we cannot do it?
We can do it. Kenya has done it. South Africa has done it. If you go to
Kenya has
Papua New Guinea, that's small island. Kenya had many languages, and they decided to opt for one.
But if we want to stray into that, Swahili would definitely be the dominant language. If we want to stray into one when we come to Ghana, which one are we going
We will not stray into one. We will not adopt one language. That will be a very big mistake because that is going to create a huge problem. But we will be talking about dominant languages in various areas. Like I said, if I find myself in Tamale or the areas around Tamale, the dominant language is Dagbani. If you find yourself in the Volta region, the dominant language is Ewe, and so on and so forth. So we will not be thinking about one language for Ghana.
Granted that we have one dominant language in an area, when you send the teachers who are sent to areas where they don't belong to that, they don't come from those areas. If you send a Ghana teacher to the Volta region and they're posted to an area where they're speaking Ewe, how is this teacher supposed to use Ewe as a basis of instruction?
Let us be clear about something. We are talking about the first years of schooling. And the first year, we are talking about the, well, now we add KG, kindergarten up to P3. That is where we need to get the children to understand whatever is being taught in the language that they are familiar with. It is not across the whole levels, all the levels of education. We're talking about the first formative years of the child.
Yes, but again, you're posting teachers to areas where they're going to be teaching the first formative years.
These are some of the challenges that we face. If you are posted to an area, let's say from Accra to the Volta region, now the posting officer or whoever is in charge of the posting should make sure that if you don't speak the language, you are not posted to P1 to P3.
And again,
and therefore, because from P4...
You talk about speaking the language, and there's a difference between speaking the language and being literate in the language.
Yes. It's about communication. If I'm able to communicate my information, that is all that matters. If I'm able to communicate the mathematical information, if I'm able to communicate my geographical, whatever information at that level, that is what is important.
Because
I don't have to be literate in Ghana, because many people speak Ghana in Accra, but they cannot write anything in Ghana. But it's about the communication that enables this person to communicate effectively with whoever he or she can.
But as you talk, so we're going to be printing textbooks.
We are not going to be printing. That is again another mistake we are making. The medium is not necessarily a subject. The medium is a medium through which you are able to communicate your information. Like I said, if because I am in Accra, of course I can't speak anything in Ghana. But if I were to speak Ghana, as I said, I may not be able to even write anything in Ghana. But I can get my way about in Accra because I'm able to speak Ghana.
You mentioned a number of countries where you're saying that they've adopted this.
Yes.
But do we have any research done anywhere that shows that teaching them in their native language or their primary language, their first language, actually makes them better than those who are instructed in English?
I actually was part of a team that visited South Africa, and we saw it in action, because at the end of the first 3 years, they have what they call bridge to English. Mind you, while the children are being taught in the local language or whatever we call it, English is being taught as a subject. English is being taught as a subject. But whatever information that is passed on to the children at that level is done in the...
Do you consider this may work in the rural areas, but it will be a lot more difficult to work in urban areas?
Look, in Accra...
In my community, where I live, if I send my child to the school in my area, they're coming from different backgrounds. There's some who's coming from an Akan home, there's some coming from a Gan home, there's some coming from different languages. They come and converge. Which language of instruction are you going to use?
They converge in an area, and in that area, that's why we use the word dominant language. Yes, because you see, it has effect. This is what people...
So East Legon, which language will you use?
East Legon is made up of people from outside Ghana.
But you're seeking to speak to people. Seeking to speak to people, instruct the children in a local language, and you're going to use.
You're talking about East Legon. I mean, even among Ghanaians, the people who live there, it's a different society. We're talking about normal Ghanaian societies. And please.
That's a normal Ghanaian society.
It is
My child attends a normal Ghanaian
whatever
school.
you buy in East Lagos is far, far cheaper.
Not necessarily. Anyway, it's an interesting conversation we can take up another time.
It's important that if we are not careful, we'll make it look like the child, as soon as the child enters school, it should be, English. And then that creates, a culture shock for these children.
But a lot of the time, these children, especially in the cosmopolitan areas, their first languages may be English.
See, because we don't do tracer study as to the effect of these children later in life, because we assume that while they are speaking English, yes, it means they are doing well in a...
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Nsoa. Michael Nsoa is a former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, and he's been talking to us about this debate about whether to use local languages, the first or primary language or the native language. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you international news. All right, good evening to you, Aisha. What's coming up on Journey Interactive?
Well, it's being education. You know, it's the core of our development. So we're all interested. And so we asked, what do you make of the Education Minister's intention to push for a language policy enabling pupils to be taught in their mother tongue before reaching primary 4? And then in this age of information, do you have any idea what your children are doing on the internet? Well, how far will you go to protect them from unsavory online stuff? After you leave the land of the living, again, how would you want to be remembered? Join me, Aisha Ibrahim, a little over 30 minutes on the interactive segment for more. Kind courtesy, Airtel.
Right, certainly we have all that and more coming up when we return. Please stay tuned. We also have sports, we have entertainment. Ms. G will be joining us. Please stay tuned. This is Joy News Prime. We're watching Joy News Prime Time now for a recap of our top stories. Government has assured jobless trained nurses it will begin posting them to the various health facilities after they picketed at the Flagstaff House. President Mahama has argued Ghanaians will have to pay more for electricity to help address the energy crisis. Investigative journalist Anas Anas and judges implicated in the judicial corruption scandal today putting an appearance as the Judicial Committee probing allegations resumed sitting. Now, President John Mahama has announced the government is instituting some new measures that will help reduce the country's rising debt substantially. But some economists say the measures may not necessarily solve the problem. And the Flagstaff House has denied it is using $10 million to finance the printing of diaries for the presidency. Right, and now on to the rest of our stories. An NDC executive in the Hafo and North constituency who stabbed the party's constituency chairman has been granted bail. Al-Hassan Adams, the constituency treasurer, is reported to have stabbed the chairman Samuel Awuni during a disagreement over a vehicle. Correspondent Precious Semevo has been following the story and joins us on the phone lines for more on this. Good evening to you, Precious. Now, how did a disagreement over a vehicle lead to the stabbing of the NDC constituency chairman?
Well, it's a question that we've all been asking ourselves and trying to find answers to that. But really, on the grounds, that is what happened now. It is because of this car that the party constituency chairman insists that it should not be used by Adams Alhassan, who is with the original minister's campaign team. And that is where the whole misunderstanding started. The constituency chairman insisted that if they are going to move the car, then they should deflate all the ties. And that is what infuriated Adams Alhassan, and it resulted into physical exchanges, and then he stabbed him. A stab that he claims that he did not stab him with a knife, but rather it was his car key that he used in retaliation to the attack from the constituency chairman.
Now, we understand the treasurer has been granted bail. Under what circumstances is he granting bail?
Well, the Superintendent Cosmos Afena Damwa, he happens to be the district commander of the police commander at Tepa. He will not tell me the circumstances, but the only thing that he said is that the incident is bailable. That is why they granted Alhassan Adams bail. And he said it's a normal practice and it is a bailable offense. That is why they granted him. I tried to squeeze something out of him. He said they granted him bail with sureties. I tried to squeeze something out from him, but he will not divulge more than he had given me already.
Yeah, especially because if he's let on the loose, he may go back and attack the person he attacked the first time.
Well, this morning or late morning when I got to Tepa after an interaction with the police commander, I met coincidentally Adams Alhassan, who as part of the bail granted him was to report at the police station. So he came there to report himself, but as we understand, when he was he went to the police station himself. He was arrested, but not too long ago, they granted him bail for him to appear the following day. And I think he did that today, and I suspect that he will be there tomorrow too.
Right, thank you very much, Precious Semevo, for joining us. Now, a family is demanding investigations into the circumstances surrounding the death of their relative at the Ho Regional Hospital. The family alleges that Cindy Previ died as a result of negligence on the part of hospital staff. Also, regional correspondent Ivy Setoji joins us on the line with more on this. Good evening to you, Ivy. What have Cindy's family members been telling you?
Well, the family members are saying that they lost their daughter and sister out of negligence on the part of the hospital. This is because the lady was transferred or referred from Barras Hospital to the Volta Regional Hospital, popularly called Trafaga in Ho, and she spent about 14 days there on oxygen. And then during a particular time, she realized that the oxygen was not working, or she couldn't breathe as she used to do when she was on the oxygen. So she asked the mother, after taking cocoa that the mother bought her, she asked the mother to go and ask the nurses to come and attend to her, especially with the oxygen. The mother went to the OPD and also the emergency ward and told the nurses, but they were not ready to go with the excuse that they were not on duty. Some of them were not on duty, they just came. And so the mother struggled to get people, but she couldn't get anyone. When she got back to the ward where her daughter was, she realized she was no more. Okay, and then she said, she lamented that maybe the doctor couldn't have died if they responded earlier or if the nurses had taken good care of her. So they are asking that justice should be done, even though nothing can bring their daughter back. But they don't want the same thing to happen to anyone. So they want the right things to be done. And according to the brother of the late Cindy Febby, he is ready to take this matter to court.
What have the hospital authorities been saying?
Well, according to the acting director, medical director, that's Dr. Lord Mensah, he said that his nurses, the staff on duty at that particular time the lady died, they did their best to cater for the lady. And he does not believe, after the investigations, they don't believe that it was because of the oxygen or the unavailability of oxygen that made or that caused the life of the young lady. But because she was having a terminal disease or she was having a terminal disease, that was what made her lose her life. So it was not act of negligence. So that is the whole thing. The hospital denied that fact.
All right. Thank you very much, Ivy Setoji. We also move to the central region, where a Danish woman is suing a hospital in Cape Coast for alleged negligence. Correspondent Richard Kojo joins me on the phone with more. Good evening to you, Richard. Tell us more about this case.
Well, Marianne Host is a Danish national who lives at Mori in Cape Coast. And on her way back to Mori from Cape Coast one rainy day, she fell down and then broke the ankle. So she went to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital for treatment. When she went there, upon certain reservations, she decided to go to the Bedingate Memorial Hospital, also close by. And so when she went there, and they took the X-ray of her, and they said that the reading of the X-ray detected that there was only one of the bones that had been affected. And so they worked on that bone, not knowing that the two of the bones had actually been affected. And so they worked on one and left the other one. So when the POP was put on the leg, she still felt some pains and then reported it back to the Ngate Memorial Hospital Authority. And they said that, well, they have done no wrong. And so she took it to another hospital where the X-ray they took actually showed that there were two bones that had actually been broken, and one had been treated, but the other one had not been treated, and so it had affected the leg. And so as I speak with you now, she is unable to walk without crutches. She went to the hospital to complain about what they've done to her that is making her unable to walk again. And they said that, well, it's also her fault, and they have nothing to do with that one. So I decided to go to the Bedingate Memorial Hospital, and I was told by the medical superintendent of the hospital, Dr. Gatti, and he told me that the incident happened about a year ago, and the doctor in question who performed that operation had died. But according to him, the hospital cannot be held liable for whatever the Marianne Host is claiming. And so that really is what the situation is like.
All right, thank you very much, Richard Kojo Nyako, reporting from the Central Region. I believe they'll end up in court and determine their issues there. We're taking a break. When we come back, entertainment with Miss G. Entertainment. Miss G is here. Good evening to you, Miss G.
Good evening, Adriel. How's your weekend?
It was all right. Yeah, it was just all right.
It's like you've forgotten your weekend already.
How about your weekend?
But I'm great. Yes, I'm great. Okay.
All right, let's start off. Entertainment. Kofi Nti and Ofrian Ponsa. Ofrian Ponsa is still trending. I don't know why we're still talking about it.
Well, I don't think we would stop talking about him anytime soon. Maybe until he decides finally to let go being a pastor, because I know...
we should give him a break.
Well, would we ever give him a break? You know, you remember the song Rakia? You know, he did Rakia with Kofi Nti. You know, they were together back then. And so Kofi Nti is lauding the fact that Ofrian Ponsa is coming back.
So they can do more collaborations.
Exactly, you know, you get that point. But, you know, what's his name? Lord Kenya. Lord Kenya 5 years ago, in this October, decided to say bye to secular music. Now he's vowed that on no platform is he going to perform any of his old tunes. And so he's been talking about Ofrian Ponsa because he's been there and he sees Ofrian Ponsa also not saying he's a pastor. Then he says that, okay, I'm coming back.
Backsliding, essentially.
Well, he says that he thinks that he's been possessed by the devil and is being used by the devil, because he thinks that in as much as he wants to make progress, the devil is pulling him back, you know. But Kofi Anti doesn't see anything wrong with Ofori-Amponsah's return. Like he said, he says that he's glad because they'll be doing too many things together now that he's back with him.
To me, I don't see any wrong with him getting back to sing high life music. Because when you sing a high life music, that doesn't mean you are a singer or you are somebody, I don't know how to say, but high life music, especially when listening to Ofori's song, he doesn't say profane words in it. So I think for him to come back and sing high life, it's okay. We like, I love his style of singing.
Right, and Stonebwoy apparently is on some tour.
Yes. He's going to go on tour with a Morgan Heritage Band. This band is a world-acclaimed band, and he has been invited to come join them, go on a European tour. And we find out from Stonebwoy, because he was here, and we found out from him how he got this deal, because it's too good to be true. Of everybody else in Africa, every musician, every dancehall artist, why you, Stonebwoy?
First dancehall artist from Ghana to go on tour with Morgan Heritage for royal family of reggae like Morgan Heritage. Yeah. We have lived off their music. We have learned from their music. We have listened to them. We have learned from their music. So I supported the cause. I went to perform to open for, to be one of the acts on the night. So from there, I believe that word of mouth started going around, and Gramps Morgan himself got very interested in my thing. It went on to his son getting very much more interested in my thing, and followed up on Instagram, and so we channeled it properly, got to get into contact, and lo and behold, I landed a nice one to go on tour with them. The tour starts this week or next week, but I'll join them in the second leg in Europe.
And that's your boy,
Moving on to
Stonebwoy,
things, man.
And it tells that when is your time, it's your time. And
is it possible he could go along with Shatta Wale?
Is it possible that he could go with who? Shatta Wale? No, hold it. Everybody hold it. That guy is busy singing hold it. But there's some news about Shatta Wale and Samini.
Yeah.
Apparently, Samini did a song that Shatta Wale feels that is a diss song to him. And so you're doing your thing again, throwing jabs at each other. Like, that's all they know how to do. But he's doing hold it for now.
Yeah.
He's holding it.
Reggie Zippy.
Yeah, you remember that song? Barima Osei Asare, virgin, sana in the wedding, and so that song. And you remember this one? You may kiss the bride.
Kiss the bride.
Okay, so Reggie Zippy and Boli. Reggie Zippy has the Barima Osei, and Boli did You May Kiss the Bride back in the day. The two of them found themselves in Britain, and they came together to form a group, Men on Point. Now, there's been a talk of a lot of Ghanaians because they made it to the X Factor. Now, I remember.
Okay.
Yes. They made us proud at the audition. And everybody has been wondering, you guys used to be big here, but separate musicians. We never saw you even do any collaboration here in Ghana. How come you get to Britain and you're together as Men on Point? And this is what they had to say. Yeah, so that's Men on Point.
We wish them all the best.
Very well, we wish them very well. But does the name Betha clashes in your ear with the name Becca?
Yeah, Becca, Betha.
Okay.
They're multisyllabic.
Okay,
yeah.
So you know the musician Betha?
I think I do.
You do? Well, I know you find it difficult to remember because now she's Yaya. She calls herself Yaya now. And apparently, she said people were calling her Becca instead of Betha. So she decided to
so
go.
she changed her name
exactly.
To
so she's been telling us more about her rebranding.
Betha and Becca clash was something else. So I was like, it's just best for me to go back to my Yaya.
So how long ago did she take on this Yaya name?
She said after she won the Stars of the Future, she thought that it would be better that she goes back to her name Yaya. Yes. And let me go straight to Nigeria. On-air television personality, she is a relationship expert. She's got a vlog. I love to watch Toke Makinwa, that's her name. Now, she got married early last year, and just after her marriage, as a relationship expert, it was sad to know that her husband actually impregnated his ex-girlfriend few months into their wedding. Oops. Now, yeah. And so she goes for an interview, and the presenter thought it wise to find out from her, what is happening with your marriage? Tell us about it. She says, look, that one is not an issue for public discussion?
You guys just wait and see and watch and see. No, there's nothing to say. That part of my life is not open for discussion.
Really?
Because you're a relationship expert.
Exactly.
So you shouldn't be going out telling people about it. That's the kind of advice she gives her people, her clients.
But if I were in her position, what would she have told me?
She's saying, don't tell everybody else.
She tells us things worse than this. I was surprised that she couldn't talk about her own relationship. But how about you being celebrated on your birthday by the first family of Ghana? Or what would you think? First family of the United States of America.
That'd be awesome.
Guess who got celebrated? Usher Raymond.
Right. It actually should have been me.
Oh, you're jealous. Oh, okay. Maybe you should find yourself elsewhere, not in Ghana.
Anyway, thank you very much, Ms. G, for bringing us entertainment.
Thank you, Joel.
Have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You're watching Joy News Prime. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you sports. Please don't go away. Time now for sports, and Kwame Juma is here. Good evening, Kwame.
Good evening, Easy.
Now, what I want us to talk about is that young chap who played from the first division, who played in the local Black Stars, and he actually
yesterday's game.
He got 2 goals, right?
Yeah. His name is Joel Famia.
Does it mean we're going to be having a lot more of these first division, second division, and maybe probably third division people being included in there? Well, I think he opens up the chance for people.
That's it, and for any other player who plays in the local league or Division 1 or Division 2, or what Joel is trying to let you know is that as long as you're good enough and as long as you perform consistently, there's a chance that someone could be looking at you and you could get a call up to play for the local Black Stars.
All right. What's coming up in sports?
Well, we're still staying with the local Black Stars, and the Black Stars did get a result against the Ivorians in the game played 24 hours earlier. But there's been a lot of criticism of a head coach, Maxwell Kunidu, who was a part of the Black Stars delegation that traveled to the States to play Canada. The management committee chairman of the team, Fred Papo, says these criticisms are unnecessary.
There are reasons why the head coach of our team is an assistant coach of the senior national team, and I believe this bit of information has been trumpeted loud and clear several times over and over again. So where is this coming from? If it's with the Black Stars, there are things that he learns over there which we know to the benefit of the team, and he brings those things to the benefit of the team. In his absence, we made alternate arrangements. We beefed up the 10-car team. Yapreku came to join the rest of the 10-car team, and I can say we are benefiting from that. Even when he came back, he hasn't left. He's still with the team. So definitely, it's like fishing for issues to talk about. And I think, as a nation, this kind of thing should be beyond us.
Let's do some club football news now, and Interlies have confirmed the departure of Kwesi Fabian, who led them to a respectable position in the just ended First Capital Plus Premier League. The technical director of the club, Willie Kluche, has been speaking about Mr. Fabian's departure.
It's true. We're supposed to meet him today, but we called him and he said he is in Kumasi. And we asked him whether he's coming down for us to meet and see the way forward. And he said he's no more interested in the job. He wants to concentrate on his national assignment. So, we can't force it. So we spoke and we all decided that is the end of the journey. So now we have to look forward and look for a competent coach that can help the club.
He also did confirm the plans had far advanced to appoint a new manager.